welcome to another edition of Coffee with Graeme here on Amateur Sports TV. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. In today's episode, we continue our coverage of the 2020-2021 MFHL season here on Coffee with Graeme. In the past week in the MFHL, we saw 7 matchups take place in the league. So let's get into these matchups right now by looking at the Coffee with Graeme MFHL score report sponsored by Pembina. And the MFHL score report is sponsored by Pembina, natural beauty made in Canada. And we had 7 matchups happen this past week in the MFHL. We're not going to go into each one specifically, so we're just going to show them on the screen here, starting off with Friday's action and then moving all the way into yesterday's action where we saw the Winnipeg Avros take down the Eastman Selects in St. Anne. And the Winnipeg Avros continue to roll along this season as October comes to a close. Ever since the Avros' first loss of the season, which came back on October the 3rd against the Yellowhead Chiefs, this team has really taken control and really put themselves in a great position so far this year. They've won 6 in a row ever since that first loss, and they've gotten contributions from the defensemen, from their forwards. Their vets are stepping up as of late. They've seen rookies produce in big games as well this season. Their goaltending has been solid. It's been one of the most surprising things as well has been their goaltending. I mean, 2 rookie goaltenders. Their goaltender Jenna Gorson just getting her second shutout in yesterday's win against the Eastman Selects. But one of the things that's been so key from this team this season has been the leadership of their vets, and one of these vets in particular joins me in the show today, and it's Courtenay Bays. And Courtenay, an assistant captain of the Winnipeg Avros this season, joins me on the show today to talk about the key games in this winning streak for the Winnipeg Avros. This was before the game against the Eastman Selects, so we didn't get her thoughts and opinions on this game. We wish we did, but we weren't able to. But Courtenay also signed a commitment with York University this season too, and that made her the youngest Avro in franchise history to sign a commitment. I talked to Courtenay about why she thought right now this season was the right time to sign her commitment, and much more in today's edition of Coffee with Graeme MFHL season coverage. And Graeme Forsyth back on the network with Courtenay Bays for this edition of our 2020-2021 MFHL season coverage here on Coffee with Graeme. And the last time Courtenay joined me on the show was with her buddy Trinity, and it was before the season even started. We were talking about the expectations they had going into the season with the Winnipeg Avros, with the new talent they had coming up. And ever since we talked to Courtenay, she's had a heck of a season. I mean, 10 points in 7 games. That's according to the MFHL website, but on the Avros website it says you have 11 points in 7 games. So no matter which stats are the correct stats or not, you're having a heck of a season so far. And ever since you guys dropped your first loss of the season against the Yellowhead Chiefs back in early October, you guys have been on a 5-0 winning streak, a 5-game winning streak since then, and you've beat top teams like the Winnipeg Ice. I mean, you had a great battle against the Pembina Valley Hawks, and most recently you got revenge against the Yellowhead Chiefs. But before I keep rambling on and we get into the interview today, how are you doing on this snowy late afternoon here I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm assuming you are as well, but how are you doing on this snowy late afternoon?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing good. Excited to get into a lot of things today. Most notably, starting off with something outside of the Winnipeg Avros is your commitment to York University, and I mean, youngest player in Avros history to sign your commitment to a university level team. So why decide now to sign with York? I mean, this season when you still have another year of eligibility left in the MFHL next season.
Well, I mean, it was a very big decision for me to make, as well as my family. I did have a very good season last year. I feel like I improved a lot, and it was a very hard decision for me to make, but I just felt like it was the best time to commit, especially with COVID and everything going on. I wanted to make sure that I could, secure myself a spot, maybe give myself a little bit of less stress. And I asked my coach, how would I know? And she said, you'll know when you know. And I felt it, and I'm really happy about it.
So it was really the signs were kind of telling you that this is the time to sign now, even though it is really early.
Yeah, I had went for lunch with one of their teammates at York, who is a former Avro, and we kind of discussed a little bit, and she did commit in her second year as well, around Christmas time. So she gave me a lot of good advice, and I took it to heart, and I'm really, really happy.
And I bet it's going to be cool to be able to play with, like you said, one of the Avros that have played for the Avros in the past.
Yeah, there's tons of them. It's a great program. I've heard lots of things, and I skated with a couple of them over the summer, got to know some of the girls, so it was really nice.
And what were the other offers on the table for you? Because I remember talking to Ashley in the first episode we had her on here on MFHL season coverage about how you had to let some schools down. But what were the other offers that you had on the table besides York?
They were all Canadian schools. I decided that I wanted to stay in Canada. It's a personal decision. York was the only school in the Ontario League that had contacted me right away. I was definitely considering staying at home. That was always an option as well. And another school in BC, Trinity Western, where Maddie Smith actually committed to. Yeah. And University of Alberta I was also looking at. And it was just based on like education and the location and all those factors. It was a really tough decision, but I'm very happy with it. And now I can just kind of focus on the season ahead.
Yeah, and one more question before we get into the season that you've had so far, but do you know what you'll be studying right now going into that first season? I mean, in your first year at university, or is that undecided right now?
I'm looking into business right now, possibly like a master of finance or something. And York has a Schulich School of Business that I'm really looking to try and get into. So I gotta get the grades up.
Yeah. Well, keep the grades up. I mean, you got some time. You still got another year as an Avro. And just before, I mean, you still got the season to worry about. And what a season that your team is having so far. I mean, first place in the MFHL right now. It's been a display of offensive abilities. I mean, you guys have displayed great defensive abilities so far. Your rookie goaltenders have stepped up huge. But just talking about your season and how your off-season training has translated into this year. And I know that when you joined us in season preview, you said there's a lot of things you were working on in your game, but you said you wanted to take your game to the next level. In which ways would you say that hard work has translated so far in those raw skill sets that you've had out there that have improved, like your shot, your puck handling, just your speed in general?
Yeah, I think all three. Also just offensive production, making sure that I bury the opportunities that obviously come, because there's a lot of good teams in this league and you got to take advantage of every opportunity you get. So yeah, I'm actually playing with Trin now. So we kept that line together. So Trinity Grove, North Collins, and the three of us, we're experienced and we know how to play the game and we read each other really well. So I think if our line can continue to create offensive opportunities, it'll really take a good look. It'll be good for leadership and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and how has it been being a leader so far? Because I've heard stories from Ashley, and I know that Trinity praised your leadership as well, like along with all the other leaders too. But Ashley was saying you're like a third coach out there. You become more vocal this season out there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty vocal person in general, but it's really nice. I just love to help people out. If anybody has any questions, I'm always there for them to answer. I even ask questions still, but I think just because there's so many newer girls on the team, they're all looking to get better. They all work so hard. It's hard not to help out just because everybody's so eager to get better. So, yeah.
And what about in terms of your two-way game this season? I know that you said you want to get better in terms of your two-way game when you talked to us last time, but what have been the things that you've noticed in the defensive zone that have really popped out for you this season?
Well, we did work a lot on our D-zone coverage. We have been working on it recently, and I think it's pretty strong. I mean, defense comes first. We have two amazing goalies back in net. Our defense are solid, and we just are continuing to work on the breakout. Our past couple of wins have been kind of comeback wins. We were trailing a little bit, and then keep the defensive strong, and then score a couple of goals, and we didn't let any more in. So that's also contributed to our success.
Yeah, and just talking about how you guys have been able to limit the shots in these past 3 wins that you've had, I mean, keeping them under to 20 shots, would you credit that to the focus that Ashley's had you guys focusing on in the defensive zone in practice, and just the attention to detail, I'm guessing, too?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the small things, keeping players to the outside. I mean, our forecheck is also really great. We've been playing a lot in other teams' zones. And it's just a matter of staying consistent and staying on it, dumping pucks in when you need to get them in, things like that.
And you guys have had a pretty big stretch of games in this October month. I mean, 9 games that you guys have had on the schedule. You guys aren't done yet. You still have a game on Wednesday in this episode is going to be airing by then, by the time you guys finish that game against Eastman on Wednesday night. But you also got a game against Winnipeg Ice, a rematch of crosstown rivals on Halloween afternoon this Saturday coming up. But that after that game against the Ice, that's going to mark 9 games that you guys have played in October. I mean, the last 3 games that you've had before playing the Selects, you've played the Ice, the Lightning, the Chiefs, and you've only had 1 day rest. And between those, you've even had a practice in there. But just a lot of games, a lot of hockey in a short amount of time. I know that it's not like you're old. It's not like you're in your 20s or your 30s, but I'm sure that the recovery aspect of the things is huge in a stretch like this for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think making sure we're resting, especially after bus trips out to Shoal Lake when we play Yellowhead. We go to Westman in December, so that hasn't happened yet. But those bus trips, they are very tiring, especially if you don't get any sleep. So making sure we're sleeping and eating and staying positive. We haven't gotten sick of each other yet, but it's a lot of days to be consistently with a team. So yeah, it's been really well. It's been really good. I think just making sure you're fueling yourself properly is the most important.
Yeah, and everyone talks about on the average that I've had on here about the family culture, the accountability factor. How's that been so far with this new group of players?
I think it's been great. I mean, everybody's super nice. Everybody's super just into it. Like, nobody's excluded, and it just feels so nice. And I think we're gelling really nicely, especially because we have only had a couple of games. Usually we do go out for tournaments, but for obvious reasons we can't do that anymore. But it's really nice. Everybody's all smiles there.
And I'm sure that these bus trips have really helped you guys bond even more and come even closer together.
Yeah, I mean, with COVID, it's a little bit different. You got to wear your mask. You can't really sit next to each other, but we still make the most out of it. And we're just all thankful to be playing.
Yeah, and just for you guys in the offensive zone, I mean, you guys have consistently put up at least 3 goals in every game since that loss to Yellowhead early in the season. And would you say that, once again, just like the defensive zone coverages that you guys have had, it starts with the systems you guys have in the offensive zone that is translated?
Yeah, we've definitely been getting our opportunities. Our rookie lines have been stepping up as well, scoring some big goals in the Yellowhead game. Changing the momentum for our team if we're down. Yeah, I think we're doing really well, and we're finishing on our opportunities. We're creating opportunities for ourselves, and we're being strong defensively. So it's working out well.
So it's been an all-around effort for sure. And I found out that last week when talking to Trinity, you guys did decide to make that line change. I know that Ashley really put some trust in the vets up front, you, Nora, and Trinity. I mean, putting you guys on the line, and man, it's paid off pretty well so far. You guys have been the focal point of your guys' success in most of these wins. I mean, you guys have really led the way. You've really showed your leadership out there. But why do you think, Trinity answered the question, but why do you think that, in your opinion, that your line with Nora Collins, Trinity Grove, and yourself works so well out there?
Well, it's funny because actually the beginning of last year when Nora and I were rookies, that was a line. and it did not end up working. And now it's a line this year and it is working. I think it's just because we also know what we're doing now. I mean, as a rookie, you step in, you're not quite sure where to go. Sometimes I'm still not quite sure where to go, but it's it's really nice just to have, Trin speed makes me want to skate faster, makes Nora want to skate faster. The three of us kind of just feed off of each other, and we all kind of bring a different thing to the table. So, just everything's super evenly distributed on that line, and it's working really well.
Yeah, and for Ashley to put the trust in this young forward core, I mean, you guys got the experience with you, Nora, and Trinity, but being able to put trust in you guys as a whole, having two full rookie lines out there. I mean, one's been rolling so well, and Friesen, Harankowski, and Rempel, but putting another rookie line together, I'm sure that creates a lot of trust, not only throughout the forward group, but throughout the whole team atmosphere in general.
Yeah, I think it gives them a little bit of confidence. They're kind of on their own, and they all are stepping it up. They're all working extremely hard. They all want to get better, and it's showing. I mean, they're not liabilities out there at all. We rely on them heavily in the games, and they're doing really well. And it's just so nice to see it all come together, especially because we've only been playing for a little bit over a month. So I think by December we'll be really, really solid.
And how do you think changing the line change that you guys have decided to make and the lines up front has changed the dynamic of how you guys have put out production offensively?
I think it just was a spark. We had lines at the beginning of the year. They were doing fine, but she mixed up the lines and it created some new chemistry up front, and we were able to put the puck in the back of the net and keep it rolling. And, if she has to change them again, they'll change again, but things have been working out so far.
And I noticed in your stat line that you were taking a lot of shots in the first 3 games. I mean, you had one game, I think it was against the Interlake Lightning most recently, where you had 9 shots. But other than that game, your shot production has kind of gone down as opposed to the first 3 games. But is that more because of the role you've taken on this line with Trinity and Nora, because they've gone down because of those numbers going down?
I'm not sure, honestly. I think it also depends on the teams we're playing. I know Yellowhead did a very good job of keeping us to the outside in the first period. We did have a lot of power plays too, so the rules change on power play and penalty kills. But yeah, you know what? If I have to shoot, I'll shoot it, and I love setting up my teammates. That's one thing that I love looking for is making a pass, making a play. So if that's the right thing to do, I'll totally do it. And we've been scoring, so it's just a matter of picking what's best.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just looking at the point production, it was definitely the spark you guys needed as a team. And for you, Trinity and Nora, I mean, for Trinity, she's had 5 goals, 3 assists per the Avros site. I mean, 5 goals, 4 assists per MFHL. I'm just giving both those stats because I don't know which one is exactly accurate or not, but Nora has 2 goals and 4 assists as well in the last 4 games since you guys have become a line. And you've also been on a 4-game point streak as well with 4 goals, 4 assists per Avros site and 4 goals, 3 assists per the MFHL site. But moving in now, Courtenay, to the two big games that you guys have had in the last 5 games on your schedule, and starting off with the ice game that you guys played last Wednesday. I mean, it was your first matchup against them since last year. You guys were supposed to meet in the finals last year. Unfortunately, we all know the story. Unfortunately, you guys weren't able to play each other in the finals due to COVID. But I was guessing it was a big crosstown rivalry, and I'm guessing there was a lot of motivation and adrenaline for you guys pumping in that game, going up against this big rival, trying to prove which Winnipeg team is better.
For sure. I mean, I was thinking about that game weeks before it was even happening. And it was just really nice. Like, with COVID and everything too, we weren't allowed to go in as early as we would like to, but our team did a great job of adapting to what we needed to do. We did a warm up outside, bundled up in the cold, did it there, got it done. Everybody was super mentally prepared, and it was a tough game. It was a really close game. They played us really well, and it was a fast game. It was one of our fastest games probably this season, and probably one of our best games we played this season. Was also just the intensity was there. Everybody came to play, and it was really fun.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, you were, like you said, thinking about this game nonstop before it, and what a way for you to start it with a goal to open the game for your team. So, could you take me through how that goal was scored? I didn't get to see it. I mean, people in the crowd there got to see it, but for everyone that didn't get to see it, what was the goal like? Was it a nifty goal, or was it just crashing the net, going hard to the net, and finishing it?
It happened pretty fast. Basically, it was a regroup. Trent took the puck, took charge, drove the wall, got stopped, and the puck slid past two of their players on the wall. Nora was driving the net, and I picked up the puck and walked in and just shot it top shelf, and it went in. So it's really exciting. It happened late in the first too, so
Yeah.
I'm in.
Assuming that got the energy pumping for you and the girls.
Yeah. Our second period was still really good, but it was scoreless. So we scored at the end of the first and twice in the third, and they got two of their goals in between that. So we had to really find it in us to not give up, and it paid off.
Yeah, and speaking of sparks, I mean, I'm assuming the goal by Rachel to and early in the third period. I mean, after you guys were down 2-1 going into that third, I'm sure that it was like you're feeling you're there, but you're not quite there on the score sheet. You're not quite leading this team, and then you're able to tie it up. I'm sure that was the spark you guys needed to, start off the third period, because it was pretty early on in the third when Rachel scored that goal.
Yeah, it was a big goal. It was probably one of the turning points in the game for sure. We kind of lost a little bit of momentum, and then towards the end of the second period, we picked it up again, and we came out ready to play in that third period. And I think that really helped us. Third period team never gave up, and it paid off.
And I've noticed that trend as the third period has been your best period this season. Why do you think that is?
Not sure. Honestly, like if there is something that I could work on personally, and probably just as a line in general, would be to have a consistent 60 as a team. We've had, really, really good 40-minute games, but kind of one period that wasn't at our best. So I think one of the things we're trying to aim for is to have a full 60 and just bring it every single period, not just 2 out of 3. So we'll work on that. Yeah.
And then before we move on to the Yellowhead game, seeing Trinity's goal go in, or game winner, the tip shot. I know you were on the ice. You didn't have a point for this goal, but I'm sure that it was a great feeling seeing that go in, just a sense of relief in a way. But how did you feel exactly when Trinity's goal went in and you knew that you guys were up 3-2 in that game against the Ice?
So happy. It was so good. And honestly, like, points aren't everything. Like, I mean, it was crazy. Like, just the team effort. I mean, Nora had the puck. I believe it was a power play. Nora had the puck up the wall, and we were talking to Ash about this, running a switch with one of the D. Nora drops to our D. D rips a shot. Trent tips it in, and it's like perfect play. And, I was there screening the net. It went in. We were just all super happy.
Yeah.
And, we knew, like, hey, we got this game back. Now it's time to keep pushing until it's over. So it was a sense of relief for sure.
And talking about like the forward and D switch, I mean, the D switching up to play forward, it's simple, but it takes a lot of trust. It must be nice to know that you can trust a lot of your teammates out there, almost every single one of your teammates out there, so early on in the season, to be able to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done to do something like that. I know half the time you can listen, and then executing is really hard, but Nora and Maggie Matani, they did it perfectly, and it was just awesome, and it worked, obviously. So yeah.
And moving in now to the game against Yellowhead, you guys are coming in. It was first place was on the line in this game, and a revenge game for you guys, I'm sure. But just how down 2-0 after the first period. I mean, you guys being able to battle back again, winning this game 4-3. But why did you feel that you guys got off to the start you guys did in that first period?
I mean, it was a tough game. They're a tough team. They play very physical. So that was something that we kind of had to get used to. In the first few minutes of the game, we had power plays, penalties, like it just went straight to special teams, and we just didn't finish. We had 2 5-on-3s that we didn't score on. So we had the opportunities, but I don't know, we just couldn't score on those, and they got 2 breaks and they scored. So, all of a sudden you're playing okay, but you're still down 2 goals. So it was a huge character win. I mean, Ash texted us and said she was proud of us, and it was definitely a character win. Those are her words. So we just never gave up and found a way to win at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, a huge game for you guys' confidence so early on in the season. You get a game back against a team that handed you your first loss. I mean, without that loss, you guys would be undefeated so far. But also, rookies stepped up in this game, and they were stepping up early in the season. I know I had Ella Friesen, Regan Durand, and Maren Rempel on the show for a second episode, and it was by that time they were leading the team basically in points. I know Ella and Maren both had 4 points each at the time, but ever since then the tables have kind of turned and the vets have stepped up, and I'm assuming it's nice to know for your veteran line, I mean you, Nora, Trinity, to know that in these big games you can still see these rookies step up. I mean Maren Rempel, Harankowski, both having, I mean Rempel had a goal and an assist, Harankowski with 2 assists, and then Mozienko, your former line mate, having a goal. I mean, how nice was it to see these rookies stepping up and kind of taking the pressure off of you guys in this big game?
It's amazing. Like, honestly, they played such a big part in swinging the momentum for the team. They scored when they needed to score, and I don't know, they just found the confidence and they found a way to do it. And I will mention briefly, I don't want to talk about it too much, but Ella Friesen did get injured in the first few minutes of that game. It was very, very unlucky. She has a broken collarbone, so the team and myself have been wishing her the best of luck on her recovery. So we're not sure what's going to happen with that yet, but it's just really unfortunate to see somebody who's, been playing super well just get injured on something like that. But as a team, we're going to have to push through, and she'll get better eventually. So we were able to win for her, is what we'd said. So she was on her way, and she wanted us to come back, and I'm glad we could do that for her.
Yeah, and so unfortunate because I was looking at the stat sheet before doing this interview, and just looking at it, it was weird seeing she only had 2 minutes and on the game sheet, and the others had 60 minutes. But yeah, what an unfortunate injury for a player with a lot of potential in her career. For sure she's going to be back, and I bet she's going to be back stronger than ever. Wishing for myself, and I know you guys have already wished her the best of luck, but I'm wishing her the best of luck in her recovery, making the statement on air right now. But yeah, just when an injury like this happens, I know that we don't want to talk about it too much, but before we move on, I'm sure that it gives you guys an extra sense of care, I guess, to play for a teammate that went down.
Yeah, and she's such a positive girl. I mean, her mindset is just unbelievable right now. She's keeping her head up high, and we're all there for her. So hopefully sooner or later she'll get better and she can get back to playing.
Yeah. And just moving back into the game, you talked about how special teams was a big part of this game. Pretty similar to the first game you played against Yellowhead, where you guys were taking loads of penalty. Both teams were. But what's been the key to the success on the power play so far this season? I mean, that's been such a big thing for you guys so far in these past 5 games, is capitalizing on the power play and being able to get those chances. What's exactly gone into the success, in your opinion, on the power play?
I think when we really settle down and just work to make sure that we're not scrambling on the power play, you take your time, make sure you set it up properly. Our defense have been doing a great job of getting shots through, and our forwards are in front of net screening. So, if it doesn't go straight in, there's a rebound there, and we've been capitalizing, except for a couple of times in the Yellowhead game. But yeah, we keep working at it, and it's going to get even better.
And now looking ahead in your schedule, you got this game Wednesday against Eastman. We're already going to get a result when this episode airs. But I know you guys got to practice tonight. It's Tuesday. and just what are the things that you guys are looking to focus on going into this game against Eastman, a team that I'm sure is going to be hungry to come out and prove something against the top team in the league?
Yeah, I think just continuing to play the way we're playing, again, the full 60 minutes, making sure we come ready to play and that we keep it up, and that we just use our speed. I think we've been doing really well, and there's only one way to go but up because we're doing so well, and people are finishing, people are making right plays, and it's coming into place. So as long as we make sure we're working hard and we're ready to play, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, and then after this, you guys got a game against the Winnipeg Ice on Halloween, October 31st, 2:45 at home. So they're coming to your home now after you guys went on the road earlier last week on Wednesday to play them at Bell MTS Iceplex. But this is a home game for you guys, a rematch against a team that's going to come out hungry to beat you guys, because not only did you guys beat them last time, but they are probably your biggest rival, being two Winnipeg teams. But would you say the same things that you guys are doing to prepare against Eastman are the same things you're going to do to prepare against the Winnipeg Ice?
Yeah. We do have a day off in between on Friday, so that'll be nice. Everybody can get some rest, make sure they're preparing, and come ready to play. We constantly have to prove ourselves, especially against a team from the city. So we know they're going to give us their best game. We got to give them our best game, and good teams find ways to win. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and for you guys playing so many games in October, the most out of any team for this month with 9 games. I mean, you guys have won in so many ways. You guys have battled back. You guys have won in big dominant games of well. You guys have tasted defeat only once, but just these early stages of being battle tested so early on, and of course losing a teammate in Friesen, I mean, that only adds to the fuel to the fire. I mean, would you say that this is probably one of the best starts, besides the injury to Ella, one of the best starts that you could have imagined for your team this season?
Yeah, I think it's going really well. Like I said, everyone's stepping it up and everybody continues to work hard. And now it's just the small details. People know where they're going. They know what they need to be doing. So now it's just, how clean can we make it, I guess, and how well can we focus on the small things to separate us from other teams.
And Courtenay and the Avros aren't done yet in October. They still got one more matchup this Saturday against the Winnipeg Ice, October 31st, Halloween afternoon at Seven Oaks Arena. A rematch between crosstown rivals. 2:45 p.m. is the puck drop on Saturday, and then they don't get a day's rest. They are right back to action on Sunday, November 1st. First game of November for this team at Seven Oaks Arena against the Westman Wildcats. Westman coming to Winnipeg to play at Seven Oaks Arena. 12:15 is puck drop, and then after this game, the Avros get a nice long break after the busy month they've had in October. Coming up next, we talk to Regan Durand, senior goaltender of the Pembina Valley Hawks. Stick with us, but first, we go to our first commercial break of today's edition of Coffee with Graeme, MFHL season coverage. And welcome back to Coffee with Graeme's U18 AAA MFHL 2020-2021 season coverage here on Amateur Sports TV. Up next, we got Regan Durand, senior goaltender of the Pembina Valley Hawks, joining us on the show. And for Regan, she is coming off a 29 save performance in a shootout win over the Winnipeg Ice this past Sunday. She stopped 29 of 30 shots that came her way and stopped all 5 shots in the shootout. That was also good enough enough to nominate her and make her the MFHL Goalie of the Week. And I talked to Regan about that and about her career before joining the U18 team, her interesting 2019-2020 season where she took a year off from the Pembina Valley Hawks U18 AAA program to focus on her academics, her play in basketball as well in her year last year. And to clarify, she did AP for one game with the Pembina Valley Hawks U18 team, but she ultimately played for their house league team last year. I asked her about her experience with the house league team. I also asked Regan what it's been like coming back to this program and what it's been like adjusting to the game style that is the U18 AAA level in the MFHL. And if you're looking at the graphic here, you're seeing that Pembina Valley has one matchup coming up. It's against the Yellowhead Chiefs, and Yellowhead is going to be hungry to bounce back in this game. I'm sure they're playing a Hawks team that is coming in with a lot of confidence. I asked Regan about what she's doing to prepare for the game coming up against the Yellowhead Chiefs, whether she's starting or not. Enjoy this interview with Regan Durand. And Graeme Forsyth back here on the network with Regan Durand, goaltender of the Pembina Valley Hawks, senior goaltender of the team. And what a week it was for Regan this week in the MFHL, winning MFHL goaltender of the week. And I found out before this interview that not only the team that she plays for, the Pembina Valley Hawks, nominated her, or they could nominate her, but teams as well can nominate her as well. So big accomplishment for Regan this week. I mean, her team coming off a big win against the Winnipeg Ice. They got a big matchup coming up against the Yellowhead Chiefs. They're looking to carry the momentum. Not sure if Regan's going to start in that game, but Regan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's about just after 4 p.m. here on Wednesday, the day before this episode comes out. How are you doing today? Good. And awesome that you were able to join us today. I mean, you got a pretty big history with the Pembina Valley Hawks. I mean, playing for their Bantam team before you even joined their team. I mean, you took a year off too last year to I'm not sure exactly why. We're going to get into that too, but this year you're off to a great start this season. But just starting off, before you joined the Pembina Valley Hawks U18 team, you played for a spring team with the Futures U16 team, and you also played with the AAA Pembina Valley Hawks Bantam team. I mean, you won bronze and silver at the Bantam AAA provincial level. So what were those experiences like so early on in your hockey career?
They were great. It was a perfect experience to build you up before getting to the midget level. It really developed you well before getting to some more serious hockey.
Yeah, and just going into some numbers outside of hockey, just looking at your height, 5'5", I'm assuming that you've grown a bit more since you played at that time at the Bantam level?
Yeah, a bit. Honestly, I haven't grown that much more, maybe 5'6", but yeah. So that's definitely something not great.
So how has it been being able to, I mean, there's bigger goaltenders out there and then there's smaller goaltenders like yourself, but how have you felt throughout the years that you've adapted to playing against, older shooters that are better, and just adapting with your height out there in net?
Yeah, I definitely have to make sure I'm not always going down into butterfly and everything. I have to stay at the top of my crease and stay tall because they will go up and shoot high.
Yeah, and you said that just the experiences you had before really kind of molded you into the player you kind of set you on the path to the player you kind of are right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. And what was it like? I mean, I also read up on your hockey highlights on the Pembina Valley Hawks website that you won league banners with the female Carmen Bantam and Midget team. And was that the 2017-18 season, or was that 2018-19?
That was 2017-2018. Carmen has always been short of goalies, so that year I was playing with the Carmen Bantam team, and I was playing up in midget too because they needed a goalie, so I was there to help. But yeah. So that was definitely quite the season.
Yeah, for sure. And how was the development like in that league? How that kind of really added into all the development that you were experiencing along with the Pembina Valley Hawks Bantam team, as well as the Futures U16 spring team as well?
Well, all my coaches have been so good, and so they've helped me so much along the way. So that's definitely helped me to be where I am today.
Yeah, and moving into your 2018-19 season, I mean, you played bantam with a number of these girls that came up with you alongside joining the U18 Pembina Valley Hawks team in 2018-19. I mean, you had Jeanette Grenier, Kaylee Bibble, Annika Braun, Cambry Martins, and Abby Beaudry, who's an assistant captain of your team this year, joining you on that team in that first year of your experience at the U18 level. So how nice was it to experience moving up with girls that you played with prior?
I love those girls, and I've been playing with them since bantam, so it's a great time whenever we get to play together. So that's been lots of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't have the best numbers in your first season. I mean, a 5-11-1 record, but obviously there was some things that you probably learned from that season about yourself and how the league works. What were those things exactly that you learned in your first year as a Hawk at the U18 level?
Well, for sure, at the beginning of the season, I learned how much harder it is, because it's definitely a big step from going to bantam to midget. So yeah, there was a lot of work I had to do, and a lot harder work that I had to do. So I had to figure all that stuff out.
And what was your style of game coming into that season with Pembina Valley?
I just tried to work as hard as I could. I didn't really have a style or anything. I just
Yeah.
got top shots.
Yeah, and you found that as the season went along, you kind of progressed in your development with that hard work that came with it.
Yeah, for sure. And just practicing twice a week for all those weeks, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and how did you find the workload back then? Did you like the extra practices? I mean, adding on a few practices, I'm sure it took some time to get used to, but I'm sure that, the way you're describing yourself as a player, you put in that work ethic, so I'm sure that you really, really enjoyed the extra work.
Yeah, I loved it. And on half of my practices, my goalie coach would come in and just work with me and the other goalie, and that was changed a lot of, yeah.
And just moving into playoffs, you got 2 games that season. What was the experience like playing at playoff hockey at the level of the U18 AAA level?
Playoff hockey was crazy. It was because I thought the league games were intense, and then we got to playoffs, and it was a whole new level. Yeah. But it was lots of fun.
And then moving into 2019-2020, the season last year, you decided to step away from the U18 AAA team and really, I'm guessing, to focus on yourself a bit. I mean, I'm not too sure, but why exactly did you step away from the program last year?
It was a hard choice, but I want to focus more on school, and I really love playing basketball, so I got to play some more basketball last year. And yeah, but coming back into this year, I missed the team, and I'm so stoked to play with them again.
Yeah, and just talking about basketball, I mean, do you play any other sports other than hockey and besides basketball as well?
No, just hockey and basketball.
Nice. And I know I've had a lot of two-sport athletes on the show, and they say they always have different perspectives of what they take away from being a two-sport athlete. But what have you taken away throughout the years of being a two-sport athlete?
Basketball has definitely helped my endurance and everything when it comes to playing in hockey again. But it's different because you have to have different mindsets when you're playing the two different sports. So it helps you grow.
Yeah, totally. And it's always nice. It kind of expands your horizons out there. It makes you a more complete athlete. It builds the athlete more than if you're just playing one sport rather than playing, two sports as well as you were playing. But yeah, definitely a big thing about two-sport athletes is it definitely grows the athlete as a whole. But just talking about your time with Pembina Valley's house league team, how was it like playing in the house league level? I mean, it's definitely very different than playing at the AAA level for sure, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so definitely it wasn't as intense and it wasn't as hard, but it was still so much fun. And I love all the girls I played with. And yeah, we just had a blast that year. It wasn't as high level as the AAA team.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you were looking for last season because you wanted to focus on your academics more and you wanted to focus on playing more basketball. Yeah, for sure. So we're going to take a quick commercial break here. We're going to talk to Regan about her season so far with the Pembina Valley Hawks U18 team, what it's been like rejoining this group of girls, and we'll be right back with Regan Durand in just a moment, but we're going to hear from our lovely sponsors here that have decided to sponsor today's edition of our MFHL coverage here on Coffee with Graeme. And Graeme Forsyth back here with Regan Durand, goalie for the Pembina Valley Hawks, joining me today. And she's coming off a big week. Her team winning against the Winnipeg Ice in their second game of their back-to-back this past weekend, where they beat the Ice in a shootout. Regan getting recognition for her performance in this week's action. We're going to get into that near the end of the interview, but we're going to talk about your season so far, Regan, and just you rejoined a Pembina Valley Hawks U18 AAA program that has a lot of returning players this season. I talked to your GM before this, and she said that you guys had 11 returning players, and then with you coming back, you would have had 12 returning players coming back, which I guess you do. But what would you say, in your opinion, would be the strengths of your team this season? Would you say it is the leadership of the vets and the returning players this season?
We're super quick and fast. Skating to pucks is crazy, but I love our leadership team. They're so wise, and they really help out the younger guys and everything.
Nice. And it's been nice to kind of see the younger players kind of adapt to the style of play and kind of follow along with the leadership that you guys do got this season.
Yeah, it's definitely been harder because we didn't get to start with exhibition games. We just jumped right into league, so they kind of had to adapt pretty quickly.
Yeah, and how was that in your experience? I mean, this season, I mean, you got to experience it firsthand, and a lot of these teams got to. I mean, you guys played one exhibition game against Eastman, but the season already started. But what was the feel of not being able to play exhibition games this season? I'm sure it was harder to kind of adapt at the start.
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment, and we just had to jump right into it. You couldn't think too much about it. You just had to be ready to go. So we're still trying to make it work and everything, but I think we've done a good job.
Yeah, and just talking about did you have any type of off season? Were you doing any off season training before this season to get ready for it?
Yeah, so my team has these summer camps run by Dana Bell, our coach, and so twice a week during August and July too, he would do like hour camps. So I did that all summer.
Nice. And what were the things that were involved in these camps?
We didn't do any dry land training. We went on the ice and did drills for an hour and a lot of skating because it was trying to get back in shape.
Nice. And did you do any like off ice training, like specifically in the off season?
Not too much. I did another hockey camp, and we had a couple dry land sessions during that a couple times a day. So there was that for a week, but that was about it.
Nice. And just moving into the camp you had this year. I mean, it's your first year back. It was your first year coming back into the program of the U18 AAA program here in Pembina Valley. But how did you feel you fared in camp this season? I mean, you guys also had another returning goalie coming back, so I'm sure it was fun to compete with her as well.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun to play with. But I think I did pretty good, and it was definitely, I had to readjust to getting back into this competitive level of hockey and everything, but I think it was good.
Yeah. And this season, just starting off, you got the first two starts. You lost Westman 4-1 to open the season, and then you fared a bit better against Yellowhead, losing that game 4-3. But what would you say would be the things that you took away from those losses that your team kind of needed to do better? Would you say it was due to you guys not having preseason play?
I definitely would. Our coach kept telling us, like, even though we're losing, we were having bad games. It was just usually we'd be like 10 games in already with exhibition, so it's just harder of an adjustment. So, and we're still dealing with that, but I think
Yeah.
we're getting better, definitely.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like you guys are getting better. I mean, you got your first one a while ago this month against Eastman. It was your first one of the season as well. But besides that, you guys, played the Winnipeg Avros. You didn't play in that game, but you guys were up in that game and you ended up losing. But you're battling against these top teams. Would you say that the battle level is definitely kind of ramping up for you guys as the season goes along, as you guys are kind of trying to still find your A game, as you have been saying?
Yeah, as the season goes on, obviously it's going to get more intense and everything, and each team keeps getting better, just like we're trying to. So the games will get harder, and yeah.
And how does that give you guys confidence? I mean, you're in these games against top teams like the Avros. You guys gave the Yellowhead Chiefs a run for their money earlier on in the season, and they were undefeated for a while. And of course, beating the Ice this past week. I mean, I'm sure that's huge for your confidence for, as you said, this young group of players especially.
Yeah, definitely. As the more wins we get, the more confident we feel, and I think we're just gonna start flying once we get in the pattern of getting more wins.
Yeah, and that first one with Eastman, against Eastman, getting that first one of the season is always huge. I'm sure that you saw the confidence level rise in the room after the game.
Yeah, for sure. And we were so happy after that. And yeah, everyone is so much more confident in themselves. We know we can do it. We just got to go and do it.
And it gave you self-confidence as well, I'm assuming. I mean, you were the one in net to get that one.
Yeah, for sure. It always feels nice to win. So
yeah. Talking about this game against the Winnipeg Ice that just happened this past week that got you the Mfhl Goaltender of the Week award. You winning that award, we'll get into that after we break down this game a bit. But this game, I mean, 29 of 30 shots saved. You stopped every shot in the shootout. Would you say that your game is kind of ramping up, not quite where you want it to be yet, but it's kind of ramping up to those early stages of where you want it to be early on in the season?
Yeah, I'm definitely still adjusting to everything in the league play, but after that win, I'm feeling a lot better about it.
And you've had a year away from this league. I mean, you're 4 games in now. Are there things that you've found have been more difficult getting used to in this league than you would have expected coming in?
Just the fast-paced nature of it. Like, everything's happening so quickly, and 1 second the puck's in the other end, and the next second, like, they're on a breakaway, And yeah, everything's just so fast.
Yeah, it's just adjusting to that game speed once again. Yeah. And getting MFHL Goalie of the Week for week 4. I mean, congratulations, big award. I mean, there's some great goaltenders in this league that win this award every week, and I'm sure that it's big for you so early on in the season getting this award. I mean, it's a good way to cap off your first 4 games back in the league after you've had a year off.
Yeah, I was definitely really happy about it because I know my competition, and I know there's a lot of amazing goalies in the league. So yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that is gonna, kind of, you can add it to your confidence moving into the latter half of this season, knowing that, okay, I've been recognized as one of the best goaltenders in the league for one of those weeks. I mean, I got to roll with this feeling now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Great. So now moving into your next game against Yellowhead, your next team game, which is this Saturday on Halloween, a big Halloween matchup. You guys are starting to kind of find your legs, find your stride in this part of the season. What do you say is the game plan going into this game? I mean, you've had a week off since your last game, but just what's the game plan? Would you say going in, the preparation that's going to go into this game?
This game is definitely really important to us because we're just coming off a win, and we really want this win because we want to prove ourselves just like as one of the top teams in the league. So yeah, we're going to Shoal Lake, and we really want to try and at least give them a run for their money, if not win.
Yeah, and do you know if you're starting or not, or is that undecided up till now?
No, I usually find out on Thursday or Friday.
Nice, and you got to practice tonight. You're excited to get back on the ice and get to work?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any things in particular that you work on?
Well, tonight my goalie coach Shanley is coming out, so she'll work with me and the other goalie, and we just do whatever we thought we should work on after like the games last weekend. We kind of just work on that.
And that's Shanley Peters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Shanley Peters, she has so much history in hockey of being a great goaltender. I think she played at a pretty high level, but how nice has it been to learn from Shanley this season so far?
She's been a great mentor, just the best, and she really helps me out with every single question I have, so she's really helped my game.
And here's a lineup of matchups that will be taking place this weekend in the MFHL, and we got one Friday, we got a triple header Saturday, and we see a double header Sunday as well. And then beyond this week, we see a big matchup between the Winnipeg Ice and the Eastman Selects on Wednesday, November 4th. Once again, this schedule and all of our stuff, all of our graphics here on Coffee with Graeme, our MFHL season coverage is sponsored by Pure Nata, natural beauty made in Canada. And before we end today's coverage of Coffee with Graeme, we're just going to do a quick cross-promotion for all the great shows we got here on the network, other than this one, which is Coffee with Graeme, which does air every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10:30 a.m. on the Amateur Sports TV network. We got On the Ice with Theo Tukuluk on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Another one of Theo's shows is Coach's Parlay, which airs on Saturdays at 7 p.m. So that's some nice weekend coverage for you guys. We also got for pro sports coverage for you pro sports fans out there, we got Crunch Time with the boys weekdays at 9 p.m. and then we got Between the Pipes with Mahith Gamage on Wednesdays. That's a soccer show for you amateur sports soccer fans out there, so be sure to check out this show Between the Pipes on Wednesdays. We also got the Sask Sports Show with the JD Hodden, 8 p.m. on Thursdays. For you Alberta amateur sports fans out there, we got Primetime Alberta Sports Show with Andrew Greenhall on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And then also watch for these new shows. And one show that I'm excited for in particular, one show that I've been, plugging along with all the other shows during these cross promotions that I've done is the Prospect Show. I'm going to be hosting this. More details to come soon all over the network on Amateur Sports TV. I'll let you know about where you can follow us to stay up to date with the coverage in just a moment here. But other shows other than the Prospect Show, which is coming very soon at the network, we got the Rookie Show, World Softball TV, the International Hockey Academy Show, and that's just to name a few. So like I said with the Prospect Show, if you want to stay up to date with our coverage about when that show is going to be airing its first episode, and along with when our other shows air on the network, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Amateur Sports TV to be sure to stay up to date with our coverage of when our episodes are coming out. We post press releases, other cool stuff there as well. Little clips and snippets from interviews here of Coffee with Graeme, and soon to be the Prospect Show too. We're going to post snippets there too as well. I think we're going to do something like that, so it's going to be fun at Amateur Sports TV. Be sure to follow us there. And then if you guys just want to watch our content strictly, like our episodes of every one of our shows here, follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Amateur Sports TV to catch our latest episodes. So that's going to do it for today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth. Until next time, stay safe out there, but also try to have some fun in these trying times. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. Have a good one.